If you have ever lived alone, you know how loud silence can become, how the walls breathe with the night, how the floorboards whisper your fears back at you. But for Andrei, the silence did more than whisper. It watched him. It learned him, and in time, it answered back. He had moved into an old pre-war flat that felt charming in daylight and unsettling once the sun dipped behind the rooftops. The first oddities were faint soft taps behind the plaster, a dragging sound he blamed on pipes, odd creaks he pretended not to hear. He worked long evenings, returned exhausted, and rarely questioned anything. Until one night, as he stood half asleep in the kitchen, he heard a sound so clear it sliced through his fatigue. A finger trailing slowly across the inside of the wall. Not the outside, not the surface. Inside, as if someone was lying within the wall itself, touching it from their side. He stepped back, waiting for another noise. It came, a soft, deliberate scrape. The next morning, a spoon was missing. Then a torch, then socks. Harmless things, the kind of items you lose when you're stressed or distracted. But every disappearance happened near one specific wall in his bedroom. He began marking where he placed objects, convinced he was losing his mind. Yet objects still vanished and reappeared in odd places, sometimes placed neatly as if someone had arranged them with care. Everything changed the night he noticed a small hole in the plaster, no bigger than the tip of a pencil. He bent down to look more closely. The hole was freshly made, edges sharp. He hesitated, then lowered his eye to it. Inside, in the darkness, something moved. A pupil. Someone had been watching him. He recoiled as he stared. The hole was quickly filled from the inside, as though the watcher did not want to be seen. The idea that there was a person between the walls froze the air in his lungs. He pressed his palm to the plaster. It felt unnaturally cold. The next days were a haze of fear and exhaustion. His sleep fractured into shallow bursts. He heard whispers at night, his own name, spoken slowly, as if someone behind the wall was practicing how to say it. He tried to record the sound, but whenever he hit record, the walls fell silent. He asked neighbors about previous tenants. Most shrugged, but one older woman finally told him about a man named Erik who had lived there years ago. Strange, quiet, barely seen. He'd been evicted, or rather, the flat had been opened by police who found it empty. Modified passages carved into the internal structure. He didn't leave, the woman muttered. He hid. That's what we all believed. In a dusty corner of a forgotten cupboard, Andrei found an old box filled with newspaper clippings, photographs, and a single videotape marked with shaky handwriting. If you're watching this, leave. The tape showed an elderly man, nervous, hands trembling, eyes darting. He said Erik had created tunnels inside the walls, a hidden network, he said. Erik stayed so long in the dark that he changed, became something else. He listens, the man said. He studies you. He becomes you. He knows what frightens you and he uses it. The tape ended abruptly. Andrei felt watched from every direction. That night, he could not ignore the sounds. The scratching grew louder, now accompanied by a faint shifting of weight, as if someone was crawling slowly between the walls, dragging their limbs. He pressed his ear to the plaster and heard breathing. Controlled, patient, waiting. He whispered, "Who are you?" For a moment, everything went still. Then a whisper came back from behind the wall. "Closer than you think." Panic tore through him. He grabbed a hammer and struck the wall. Plaster crumbled. A deeper layer cracked. On the next hit, something pale darted back into the shadows. He saw the flash of a thin hand, the curve of a shoulder, skin stretched tight over bone. He dropped the hammer and stumbled backwards. The breathing behind the wall accelerated for a moment, as if irritated, then fell into quiet. Andrei tried to call the police, but the line cut off each time. His lights flickered. The flat felt smaller, the ceilings lower. Walls seemed to lean in. He opened the front door to leave, but the corridor outside looked wrong. The familiar wallpaper was gone. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. Doors misplaced, angles warped, as if the inside of the building had shifted, rearranging itself. He slammed the door and backed away. The flat darkened. Dust drifted from a growing crack in the bedroom wall. The crack widened, brick grinding against brick. A hand emerged, long fingers, nails like splinters, skinish white. Then a face, not monstrous, but disturbingly human. Eyes hollow yet focused. A faint smile formed. The kind of smile someone gives when they finally find something they have been searching for. Andrei stood paralyzed as the figure whispered, "You understand now. I've lived here longer than you've been alive. I know every sound you make, every breath, every fear. You opened the wall. You let me in." The lights burst, plunging the flat into darkness. Andrei ran. He didn't know where he was going, only that every direction seemed wrong. The walls pulsed around him, bending slightly, as though the building itself was alive and guiding him somewhere. He found a door at the end of a narrow corridor that hadn't existed before. Without thinking, he pushed it open. Behind it was a space that felt impossibly vast. Narrow concrete passages spidered out in every direction. Scratches lined the walls, layers upon layers of markings, dates, names, symbols. The air was cold, stale, almost subterranean. He realized these were the tunnels Erik had carved. This was where he had lived. This was where he had changed. A faint sound echoed from behind him. Crawling, slow, confident, he ran deeper into the maze. Every turn felt wrong. Every shadow moved. At one point he saw a shopee. Ahead someone. When he approached, he realized it was a mannequin-like figure made of clothes, wire, and hair. A decoy, a trap. Erik had been practicing making human shapes. The crawling grew louder. Andrei turned into another narrow passage, then another, until he reached a dead end. He pressed his back to the concrete, breath ragged, listening as the sound approached. When the figure finally appeared, emerging from the dark with unsettling calm, it spoke softly, almost sadly. You should not have looked. When you looked, you became part of the house, and the house keeps what is inside it. The last thing Andrei saw was the wall behind him beginning to peel open like a mouth, brick shifting, plaster cracking, a cavity forming, large enough to swallow him whole. The figure stepped aside politely, as if inviting him home. By morning, the flat was empty. No signs of struggle, no broken plaster, no tools. Neighbors claimed he must have moved out in the night. Some said they still heard tapping behind the walls. Others said they heard breathing. Occasionally, someone swears they hear a whisper soft, almost curious, calling their name from inside the plaster. And every year, a new crack appears from the inside.